Alright, this is a demo of Metadata Mapper, which is our tool for implementing Data Chamber. So, Metadata Mapper is predicated on a series of security objects. The first of those are the actual security labels. Now we break those into classifications and compartments. Classifications are your typical hierarchical type security classifications. So, for example, privacy, highly confidential, confidential, private, public. Security classifications like ultra top secret, etc. Within here, we can go ahead and create a new definition for a security grouping. We can add new classifications in here. Somewhat secret, click add, and then define where in the hierarchy that particular item comes. So we now have our hierarchy of items. Similarly, compartments are the security information, ways of securing information that are not hierarchical. So they might be the particular department within the organisation. They could be a region, like a sales region or whatever else. Those various ways of grouping our data together. So we come in here to define what labels we are allowed to apply to both data and people to decide whether or not people can see that data. Once we define what those labels are, we can come into our company hierarchy, and this is basically a way of just viewing the structure of our databases within the organisation. So I can come in here, find a particular server. Once I've got a server, I can go and get a list of the schemas that are attached to that server. I can go into a particular schema, and I can say get the tables for that schema. I can go into a particular table, I can say get the columns, and so on. Once I've gotten that information, and once I've gotten to a point where I have a particular table that I want to secure for using Data Chamber, I simply choose that table out of my hierarchy, and then I can click on Security Definition. And that brings me to this screen, which allows me to define how I will determine the security for this particular table. So I can go into the various columns within that table. I can go off and query the unique values for that particular column. In this case, there's only the one, and having chosen the particular column that I want to look at, I can then come in here to my classifications and compartments. I can go and say, look, I want the data to be restricted, I want the data to be classification secret, where this particular value has is any one of those three, and I can go and create that mapping. So, for example, some of the mappings we've already created. If the name is J Howard or K Rudd, then it's going to map to top secret. If the status is confidential, then it maps to a classification of confidential. If it's non-confidential, it maps to a classification of public. If the state is New South Wales, then it's East, Queensland's North, South Australia South, Western Australia West, and so on. I can also in here define that this particular table, that I can go ahead and rename the table, that I can define what the view's name should be, and so on. Alright. That's all the information that I need to actually be able to build the secured view around a particular table. The other side of the coin is that I need to be able to define the people and what roles they have. We call those row level access groups. So within this database dialog box, I can go ahead and define a row level access group. I can add new ones if I need to, and in here I'm saying that this for data analysts, the classification, they are allowed to see things up to a classification of restricted where the department is manufacturing and the region is west. Okay, I can go back into that same schema I was looking at before. I can see users, actual database users within that schema, and I can go ahead and apply them to a particular role. Again, here I can actually go off and query those databases and get a list of the users that are available. So I've now been able to define how a table is to be secured. I can define how a particular what information a particular user is allowed to see. What I now need to be able to do is actually push that through into my database. So to output my security, let me just tidy up a bit here perhaps. To output my security, first thing to do is pick the particular particular server that we want to look at, and I'm just going to say for the moment that I want to do everything that I possibly can. So actually let's just create the security infrastructure, which quite often you will have already done. Secure particular database tables, and then generate the ETL stub code. Now if I drill down into these, I can actually preview how that what SQL that will output. And that changes, depending on what I've got ticked. Over here I can define where that's going to be output to. We do not believe in making changes to the actual databases directly. We output SQL code that the DBAs can then review and make changes and apply their standards to, and so on and so forth, before they actually go ahead and execute that code. So we're going to output it to a particular file location. We can create separate files for each of those main steps if we want to, for each individual database, for each individual table within those databases, or we can just put it into one big file. And we then go ahead and generate that. It will save it into that directory. There we are, done. The other side is that we actually need to be able to update our users. So here we can go ahead and pick that schema that we looked at, and then just output those users directly into that schema. Now, because this is a table that we maintain directly from within the application, and because we're actually doing data manipulation, not data definition, in this case we are actually prepared to go ahead and actually write that information directly into the database. And there's simple deletes, inserts and updates on rows within our security table. So yeah, that's the tool in a nutshell.